Something feels off, doesn't it? You can sense it. The very people who were screaming for a spectacle are now suddenly afraid of the light. We're watching a strange contradiction take shape, and it's all about power, panic, and a really unnerving silence. Think about it. For months, House Oversight Chairman James Comer and his allies insisted the Jeffrey Epstein files were all about the Clintons. They demanded answers. They demanded testimony. But the moment the Clintons said yes, the accusers demanded silence. They're actively blocking the very thing they told us was the key to justice. And the reversal? It was immediate. For months, the chant was public hearings, cameras on, under oath. The whole stage was set. And then, Bill and Hillary Clinton agreed to it all. And in that one moment, the entire plan just shattered. Suddenly, public testimony was the enemy, and the new plan became secret depositions, all behind closed doors. Now, remember the backdrop here. While all this is happening, one name shows up more than 38,000 times in the Epstein files, Donald Trump. And get this, that number comes from just a tiny, tiny fraction of the documents. We're talking millions more pages that are still unaccounted for. And that right there, that's the whole game. The script was supposed to be simple. Accuse the Clintons, create a massive public scandal, and just sit back and watch them squirm. But the script broke the second they agreed to testify out in the open. The weapon completely turned on the people who built it. See, power panics when it loses control of the story. And right now, power is absolutely panicking. But here's the thing. This isn't just random chaos. It's actually following a very predictable pattern. To really get what's going on, we have to look at the framework power always uses when it's cornered. It's a playbook for how to hide in plain sight. Believe it or not, Machiavelli warned about this exact thing centuries ago. He said when rulers feel threatened, they create a spectacle, specifically to hide their fear. This was never about getting justice for Epstein's victims. It's choreography. It's a performance designed to control what you see, and more importantly, what you don't. So this pattern of panic, it moves through three very distinct phases. It's like a lockstep process, and it's all designed to get control of the story back, no matter what it takes. So first, what do we see? Denial. Oh, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Then came the accusation phase. James Comer issues subpoenas, framing the entire investigation squarely on the Clintons. But that whole strategy just fell apart when the Clintons called their bluff. So now we're deep in phase 3, containment. This is the stage where you use process and procedure as weapons to kill momentum and just exhaust everyone's attention. And this is such a critical distinction. Containment isn't about finding the truth, it's about managing the perception of the truth. You hear James Comer now saying this is about substance, not entertainment, but here's the reality. A live, public hearing, you can't edit that, you can't control it. But a closed-door deposition, that you can manage. The story can be rewritten. Public testimony creates symmetry. It forces everyone onto a level playing field, playing by the same rules. And that symmetry is absolutely lethal to people who are used to operating by a completely different set of rules. Think about it. If Bill Clinton testifies publicly under oath, the next question becomes unavoidable. Why won't Donald Trump? And that is the one question they cannot allow to be asked. But what happens when containment starts to fail? When the story just refuses to die? Well, that's when power escalates. It tightens its grip. And this is the point where you start to see the raw signals of panic. The strategy is failing, and the response is getting more and more dangerous. The cracks in the whole narrative machine are becoming visible. First, you have Donald Trump reframing himself as the victim. Second, James Comer is threatening contempt charges against people who actually want to testify. And third, you see key allies becoming unstable. Mike Johnson dodging reporters, Scott Jennings suddenly praising the Clintons just to confuse everybody. When the inner circle stops being strategic and starts being reactive, you know the decline has begun. You know, Donald Trump's recent reversal on this is so telling. He went from attacking Bill Clinton over Epstein to suddenly expressing concern for him. That's not empathy, that's fear. Machiavelli warned that the second a ruler's fear becomes visible, their authority just evaporates. And Trump's fear is now on full display, not in who he attacks, but in who he is so desperately trying to avoid. So where does this all leave us? The tension is just brutal, and it's completely unresolved. We're at a breaking point. And from here, there are basically 3 ways this can go, and every single one of them has massive consequences for who holds power in America. Okay, path number 1 is a controlled release. The secret depositions happen, some edited clips leak out months from now, our attention moves on, and the power structure survives. Path 2 is forced symmetry. Public outrage builds and builds until Donald Trump simply cannot avoid testifying publicly, and the power structure reshapes overnight. Then there's Path 3, the most dangerous, institutional collapse. This is where the competing stories just shred all trust in Congress and the media, making any real accountability totally impossible. None of these paths are safe.
And this brings us to one final and frankly terrifying warning. The real danger isn't the scandal itself. Empires can survive scandals. What they can't survive is getting caught hiding the truth in plain sight. When power chooses secrecy over confidence, it isn't ruling anymore, it's hiding. And when everyone can see it hiding, the game is over.
So we are left with one question, just hanging over all of this like a shadow. If this is really about justice, and if the people who have been accused are literally begging to speak, then why is the one man named over 38,000 times the only one being protected from the light?